Hey everybody, welcome to Cult Fiction. We're going to be talking about the Marvels today, the newest movie in the MCU. We're also going to be talking about casting for the Fantastic Four, which has just been made available, and then we're going to do an over/under on our on Marvel movies, on movies in the MCU from each of us. So, um, starting with the Marvels, this movie that just came out. Let's go around the table real quick. Bueller, you want to start us off?
Sure, man. It's the latest streaming on Disney Plus, which is cool. I refused to watch it until it came to Disney Plus. I'm just kind of I don't know if I'm marveled out or what, but I'm really not because like as Eric would say, I'm a sucker for the genre. I'll watch whatever comic movies come out. But I'm getting a little burnt going to theaters and spending all kinds of money on them. So I've been waiting for almost all of them to come out on Disney Plus for the last couple of years because of COVID. So it wasn't like I was hating on the Marvels by not going to theaters. I just didn't want to go to theaters and spend my money on it or Wakanda Forever or I don't think I saw the latest Spider-Man in theaters or any of that. So I waited for all of them to come on streaming. So all equal as far as that goes. I'm just trying to get ahead of the hate on that. Um, so, so with that being said, I had some preconceived notions going into it, but I still sat down and watched it with my girlfriend, and I mean, we enjoyed it. I didn't. I felt like it was definitely a little convoluted, a little rushed in certain parts of it. Um, you got three separate stories coming together as one, and they didn't really I don't want to say they didn't really explain a lot of it very well because we should know enough from watching WandaVision or from watching Miss Marvel or from knowing enough what we know about Captain Marvel. So really, there shouldn't be too much of an explanation. But there was a lot of stuff that happened in the movie where I was like, well, I don't understand why that happened, but whatever it did. Let's move on with our lives. Um, but still, it was enjoyable. I got some laughs out of it. There were some good scenes. Um, but also it was as far as Marvel goes, it was also a forgettable movie. Um, I'm not going to rush to watch it again anytime soon. But didn't hate it. It's like I think I told somebody like it was probably around the bottom of the middle for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, I feel you. I feel you.
I mean that's it. That's my favorite part of the entire movie. Like the biggest laugh I got out of the whole thing was the Flurkins eating people. Just fantastic. Loved it. Loved it. But yeah,
Yeah,
man, that's me. I'm like I said, bottom of the middle is where I put it.
yeah, I'm with you there. I'll go next. I feel like, and Eric and I talked a little bit about it already, but I feel like this movie, they kind of made this movie looking for situations rather than trying to tell an actual story, right? It's like they wanted situations where, like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if, Kamala Khan idolized Captain Marvel and then like was on a team with her and was like, oh, team, yay. Wouldn't it be funny if they like switched around their powers every time they used them? Wouldn't it be funny if whatever? Because the story itself was like, what? Like, oh, quantum? That's why, and I don't know. The villain to me didn't get she didn't get built up in a way that was believable or interesting. I felt like she could have been a really, really cool character because she was kind of she thought she was fighting she thought she was the good guy, right? She's fighting the Annihilator. So like she thought she was avenging the people that had died and her world because Captain Marvel came in and destroyed the super intelligence and threw her planet into chaos. So she's trying to save her people. She sees herself as a good guy, uh, but we barely see any of her. We don't get a backstory. We don't get to see like a flashback where her parents are killed in front of her or something, so you get some insight into her. It's basically just like, she finds a bracelet and then she wants to kill Captain Marvel, and it's like
Yeah, I actually I thought she was supposed to be Ronan's daughter in this movie, but that never gets mentioned. Was I
that would have been
misled on that?
cool. Sure, that would have been cool. You could do that. You could have that be an angle. I felt like she just didn't. What were her motivations other than she wanted to kill Captain Marvel because Captain Marvel killed the super intelligence? I don't know. There wasn't a lot of like there wasn't a lot of story here, right? It was just a bunch of situations that they thought would be cute or charming or funny, and they just kind of mashed them all together. I thought, honestly, I thought the movie was garbage. I thought it was terrible. Um, I the cats. I'll give you that. That was a funny scene where the cats, but it went on too long. It was funny for like the first 10 seconds, but after 2 minutes, you're like, okay, next scene, please. Anyway, I wasn't impressed with it. I didn't like it. I wish they had done something. Although Brie Larson did a better job, I thought, in this movie than she did in the first Captain Marvel. She had more than one facial expression, so that's a good right. That's a good start. But she had some depth to her character in this one. She completely lacked in the first movie. Um, but I would have liked to have seen actually more development of Kamala Khan, because I kind of like her character. I kind of think she's neat, you know. So, but she kind of started and ended the same way, like this awkward, goofy kind of girl who hasn't come into her own yet. And I'm down for, by the way, Lady Hawkeye. They're gonna start a team. Great. I'd like to see that, but I hope that they actually have a story instead of just mashing together a bunch of different scenes that they think are going to be funny, like the singing planet.
So that was
God,
dumb as shit,
Yeah,
dude.
come
that's
on,
funny.
brutal. Anyway, I won't take up any more time. Gus, let's go to you.
Okay, I have mixed feelings on the movie, right? Because like there was about 25 minutes of the movie for me anyway that I thought were pretty quality, right? Like where I was like, that's a good scene. Like I love the Octocats eating the people. The shit
Right.
was funny, right? The shit was funny. The cat thing was funny. Like even when like Captain Marvel goes to war with the cat, I was like, that is some funny shit, right? Like those were good scenes where they're all working together to figure out how to use their powers. Like that was a really cool. That was actually I thought it was a really cool scene where they're all like juggling and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
So like I give the movie about a C. I could never watch it again and I wouldn't care.
Right.
Right. And I don't think it adds anything to the Marvel universe. I don't think it adds anything to anything, really. I'm with you fully on the Kamala Khan, right? Like that was a cool character. And I thought that they just way underdeveloped it. And like I like the family dynamic and all of that. They should have put more energy into her for the next franchise that's coming out so that I'm more invested to see
Right.
Lady Hawkeye and her because whoa, this looks cool, right?
Right.
And
Right.
I would like to know it a little bit more. So like I give it like a C. The singing thing, like when I watched that, I was like, oh, this must have been in a movie that got cut and they wanted to pick they wanted to take a shortcut. So they had this bullshit.
Right.
They just spliced it in because it's super idiotic. And like no, or like someone lost a bet. Right? Someone was like, I'll bet you, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, okay, fine. If you lose the bet, I get your Ferrari. If I win the bet, you have to put this fucking garbage in this movie. Right? Like, it's something stupid. Like, I know in 30 years we'll come out. It's like, oh, yeah, I lost a bet or whatever. But like,
Yeah.
but the on the serious note, my two serious things, and not to make it too serious, but like prior to seeing this movie, I had read all these things and whatever. It's like how horrible of a movie it was. Like I'd read all these reviews, right? And like I kind of feel like I got gaslit a little bit, and I kind of think that maybe that's why the movie did so poorly, right? Like I don't think it was a good movie. I wouldn't write a review and say, "Oh yeah, this is a great movie," whatever. But like all of the reviews that I read was like, it's the worst, worst Marvel movie ever. It's super gynocentric, whatever. And so I kind of feel like going forward, I'm not gonna make any judgments on a flick until I see it.
Mm.
Going forward, I'm not making shit on like if I see the trailer, I'll make my own judgments, but I'm not whatever. Siskel and Ebert, you're gone, baby. And then but the other thing that I thought was really interesting to their credit, more than the Octocats more than Meghan Markle's sister with the sledgehammer. Like, okay, there was no white men in this flick. There was Nick Fury. He was fat. He had like corporate Fridays clothes on, and he was way watered down. And from what I counted, other than the singing husband, there was only 5 male speaking roles. They managed to have an almost entirely female cast and didn't go around shitting on men the whole time. I thought that was super interesting because so often we watch these flicks and it's like the dialogue is from like a hair salon where people bitch about their stupid husbands, and I didn't get any of that shit. No, I didn't get any of it. There was no man hating at all.
Yeah, fair enough. That is a good sign. That's a good sign.
That's a good point.
That was done in the writer's room and the casting room before they made the movie, though.
Right. Maybe.
That was already done. Maybe. Right.
Who wants to go next, Eric or Alex?
I'll go next.
Okay, Alex.
I mean, I share the sentiments that a lot of people have already said. It was not, I would call it a bad movie. I would not quite call it like terrible, like Jubal said. I thought there were a couple of things that I actually did like about it. Most of them were like visual aesthetics and how the things were shot. And I really liked the way the director incorporated distance in the action scenes, which was really cool. A lot of these times where you see these explosions and things crashing into each other, you're seeing it really, really up close. And this one, was everything that's kind of far back, so you kind of see the scale of it all. Even when it's like one person being thrown a long distance, you're really far back. And I thought that was really cool. It was kind of a new viewpoint that we hadn't seen. And the action scenes in general were pretty well done. They were entertaining. The switching places gimmick was kind of nonsensical, but it was still kind of neat. You know, it was fun. But, Marvel movies have systematically had a problem with making good villains. You know, that's one of the weaknesses of the entire MCU. Aside, they've had some great ones, Loki, Thanos. But this one, I can't even remember the villain's name on this one. All she did was sneer and like be angry.
Right.
And Juba brought up a good point about, she thought she was the good guy, because initially I saw that and I was kind of like, my initial thought was, she'll be like General Zod in Man of Steel, who was a great villain in a better movie. Because General Zod thought he was a good guy, and he was compelled to do what he was built to do, from the ground up. And he made, to me, a really, really interesting villain and a really interesting character. But there's none of that in this one at all. And,
right.
and it's a big disappointment because,
it could have been great. Like,
right,
she could have been a great villain, and she just wasn't.
And, I don't know what their problem is sometimes for the villains. They can do good ones, but then there's like, the villain from Ant-Man 2. I can't even remember who it was.
Right.
But yeah, Kamala Khan. I skipped the Miss Marvel series. Just didn't seem like it was intended for me. But this is like my first time seeing her playing the character, and she is insanely likable and charming.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sort of like, and she's got a role that a lot of times can come off really grating and annoying. She's like the young, teenage girl that's like idolizes everybody, and she's walking around just like, geeking out all the time. And that's the kind of role that's really, really easy to be
right.
annoying. But she still comes off as very, very likable and charming. And, they casted like the perfect counter to like the weight of Brie Larson, just dragging everything down,
Right.
instead of this anchor of just sadness, So ultimately, it was not a good movie. It did have things I liked about it, but it's not just the MCU as a whole. The quality has gone down over the last couple of years, and there hasn't been an MCU movie that I've really, really liked, I think, in a long time. The last one I saw that I think I would say I really liked that was probably like Shang-Chi. I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, it was a good one.
But even that one I wouldn't call it great. it was good. So, I'm hoping something comes in at some point where Kevin Feige pulls back some of that magic that he had for like 10 years strong and just sort of get back on track. Because at this point, I'm not going to be rushing out to the theater to watch a Marvel movie. And I remember for a long time, there would never be one that I would miss, in the
Yeah.
theaters.
Yeah.
And
100%.
that's pretty disappointing. And so basically, I'd give it a thumbs down. I wouldn't call it like hot tier garbage, but it was not good, and so thumbs down for me.
All right, Eric, you want to finish us off here?
So this is the first Marvel movie I did not pay to see.
Okay.
Pay to see every other Marvel movie, and I was right. I would be hard pressed to tell you another Marvel movie that was worse than this one. Like, you guys can maybe name one. I don't know. 28, 29 movies. I don't know if there's another one that's worse than this one. I mean, and not just worse, but like useless.
Mm-hmm.
Like, useless. Like you might have one where you didn't like it as much. I have one in mind when we do over under that I didn't like, but it was still useful.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Eternals.
Like, overall. What's that?
Eternals.
Right. So Eternals, I totally get how people don't like Eternals. I personally am a mark for cosmic shit, but I've actually had this conversation twice this week where if you're not, I watched Eternals 3 times. When I first watched it, I really enjoyed it. I watched it with Jubal and Alex, and I know that they don't care about that shit as much as I do, and I could feel like the slow moments because I knew they were going to be bored, not me, but them. And then I watched it with my wife, and it was like, oh, I could feel the slow moments because as much as they don't care, she Megatron doesn't care about that shit. So like fucking the slow, I knew this, like, so I felt where people go, oh, it's slow, blah, blah. I get it. So if someone says Eternals, I'm not, that's fine. I agree with you. You can not like that movie. But this one was, I think Jubal's right. It was like they just had scenarios. Wouldn't it be cool if they got to a planet where they were thinking, I knew that scene was coming, and it was still dumber than I thought it was going to be. It's like I had this idea in my mind what that was going to be like, and it was still more stupid than that.
It was brutal.
That's crazy. It was brutal. The movie really should have been about the fact that Captain Marvel went and destroyed the Supreme Intelligence, and that put them into a civil war, and Dar-Ben is the good guy. I was telling Jubal, Alex, it's kind of like I Am Legend, like the original story where it's like he's the legend because what they know of him is that he just like steals their people in like the middle of the night, and like because he's like doing experiments on them and stuff, and to like the zombie people, he's the monster, right? So to Dar-Ben, she's the monster. Like she's the one who's destroyed her planet. Like the Annihilator is the one that destroyed the planet, and that's an interesting kind of story. All that being said, you guys, I agree with you that Miss Marvel is fun. I think she's interesting. I thought she was probably the best part about the movie in general. Brie Larson did do. I actually don't have a problem with the 3 women. Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau, and Miss Marvel. I thought they all did pretty good. It was everybody else. There was like nothing for them. Like Nick Fury was whatever. The villain was whatever. The people on Saber were quasi incompetent. It was
a waste. It was a waste of star power. Like you could have had, we talked about this. You could have cameos. You could have linked it into like Guardians of the Galaxy. You could have linked it into like there's so many different possibilities, so many different things they could have done. But instead you have these 3 girls who all are like worthy of their own movie,
Right.
all wasted on this movie of nothing. Just
Right.
frustrating.
And the thing is I understand what Gus is saying about, you know, maybe he got gaslit, but it's like, I mean, they did exactly what everybody thought they were going to do.
Yeah.
Which is, because Jubal goes, you know, like what you could have done was instead of Valkyrie showing up, you could have had Thor. And I'm like, no, they couldn't have. Because Thor's a dude. And worse, he's white.
Right.
So like you're definitely.
Right.
He's like, or you could add Banner. Like, no, you couldn't. You can't do. No, you're not going to do that. Just like Gus said, there was one white guy with lines, and it was Darben's right hand man.
Right.
Lieutenant.
It was.
Lackey. That's it. So again, I agree with you. There wasn't a lot of stuff in the dialogue, but it was all done behind the scenes. They made all those decisions behind the scenes. And again, when you're doing stuff like Singing Planet, you're not making a movie for everybody. You're making a movie for women, and that's fine. But then you don't get to get mad when dudes don't show up because they have money. Men have money. And the other thing is there is a finite, and I don't know if this is a sex thing. I know very few women who see, and you know, Bueller knows one of them, Kelly, you know, who will go see Marvel movies multiple times, right? Multiple times. I just don't know if that's like the person that you're inviting and saying, I want them to see Captain Marvel. Okay, they're going to see it one time. You know, dudes go like hardcore geeks go and see movies 3, 4, 5 times. You know, we had an old Star Wars geek friend who saw Phantom Menace like 22 times.
Yeah.
Something ridiculous.
Yeah.
He did.
You're not replacing those guys with like a chick that goes and sees it one time because you're doing, you know, a chick team up movie. So it's like you have to make movies for everybody. I don't know. It gets tiresome when you make a movie for a smaller demographic and then it doesn't make money, and then they go, oh, I can't believe you didn't go see this movie that wasn't for you. Like Alex said about Kamala Khan. He didn't think it was for him. I watched it because my daughter was Kamala Khan for Halloween like 2 years earlier, right? So I watched it with my wife. I watched it with my daughter. Alex was like, I don't know what a coming of age story about a Pakistani 15-year-old girl. Doesn't seem like it's for me. I get it, right? So sometimes things aren't for you. Okay. But when you put something that's not for somebody in a theater and then it doesn't make money, you don't get to then yell at everybody for not going to see it. You know?
Fair enough.
Like that's the irritating thing.
Fair enough. I think we all agree that it was, you know, if not a bad movie, then certainly not a memorable movie, not a good movie. Kind of disappointing. Missed opportunities. A lot of missed opportunities. So let's move on to a movie that's shaping up that might be a good movie. Fantastic Four. The casting information came out. I'm going to kick it right back to Eric because I'm sure that you have committed to memory the people that are actually going to be in it. So lay it out for us. Tell us who we've got.
Okay, so we have obviously Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards.
Right.
Vanessa Kirby, who's been in just like a shit ton of stuff recently, as Sue Storm. I still just know him as Eddie from Stranger Things. If anybody knows his name, holler it out. And then the guy from The Bear.
The guy from The Bear.
So I was talking to a buddy of mine who this is the conversation that Jubal and I had. I was talking to a buddy of mine who works at Disney, and he was like, I'm hearing there's a lot of pushback for Pedro being, you know, Reed Richards. What do you think that is? What do you think is part of that? And I have a couple of theories, and you guys tell me what if you think I'm correct. One, I think that like a lot of the fandoms don't want to share him. You know, there is some like worry about fatigue, you know, Pedro fatigue maybe, but I think also the fandoms don't want to share him. Like, you know, the people who want Mandalorian stuff are going to worry that like Last of Us 2 is going to get in the way and vice versa. And then is Last of Us 2 going to get delayed because of, you know, Fantastic Four? So people are like, hey, stop casting him in everything because the stuff that we want to see him in that he's already in, that's a problem. I think another thing is that
he's too popular. That's the problem.
Yeah, he's almost too popular, and he's with these really super popular franchises that people want to see more of. And they're like, your schedule is delaying this thing that I love. Stop casting. The other thing is Reed Richards is always kind of like a dork. He's always kind of like that dork who's outkicked his coverage, as they say, when it comes to Sue Storm. Sue Storm's, you know, a 10, and she's smart, and she loves his brain. But he's always that guy, you know, like, you know, I can't believe she's with me. And, you know, people on the internet call Pedro, daddy, you know, right? So, and so if you add in the Namor character or Dr. Doom, it's like these guys are going to take Sue Storm away from daddy. Like, that's Pedro. They're going to take Sue Storm from Pedro? You're going to have to fucking dumb down Pedro a lot to make it seem like someone's going to leave Pedro. Or you're going to have to get somebody hardcore, which, by the way, they're saying it is being reported by some people that Henry Cavill might end up being cast as Dr. Doom.
Really?
He might have signed the papers already.
Wow.
So
that would be cool.
Then I could see it.
Yeah.
You know, then I could see Henry Cavill can pull just about anybody's woman, right? So anyway.
That's cool.
And then I think the last one is this thing that's going around right now about like the age differences in like female and male leads, because he's like 14 years older, but then he looks even older than 14 years older than her. Right. And that's kind of like a thing on the internet right now. There's like, why does this girl got to be 16 years younger than so and so and all this kind of stuff. But I think those are a lot of the issues. I don't see it a lot with, you know, that he's not white. He's so white passing that I just, you know, when I see the threads and stuff, I don't see a lot of people complaining about that. I think they think he's too cool for Reed Richards. Reed Richards is a dork.
Yeah, Reed Richards is kind of a dork. I think I mean I'm a huge Pedro Pascal fan. I get the argument that he's in too many things, but I want to see him in everything. Like I just want to see him in everything. And so I'm greedy, I guess. I'm greedy for more Pedro. So I'm excited that he's going to be in it. If Henry Cavill is going to play Doom, as you say, that's going to be extra amazing. I like Vanessa Kirby. She's a little bit more sinister, like dark than I would cast a Susan Storm, but she's got a lot of range and a lot of depth, so she can certainly pull it off. Joseph Quinn, I'm not real familiar with. I assume he's playing the Torch.
Yeah.
And then the guy from The Bear is going to be Thing. He always does a good job, so he'll be fine. So as far as right now, you know, this is the first I've heard of Cavill playing Doom. That makes me even more excited. So I was already pretty excited, but now I'm actually really excited. Bueller, what do you think?
So basically, I was kind of surprised to see an older cast, given the last Fantastic Four movie that came out. That was a huge bomb. They had Miles Teller in it. I can't remember the rest of the cast, but Miles Teller was in it, and I like Miles Teller as an actor. But the movie bombed with the younger cast. And I mean, even when the other Fantastic Four movie came out, you know, we were just talking about before we started the podcast with Jessica Alba and of course now I can't remember anybody else's name. Chris Evans, you know, all those guys. It was at that point in time, it was a younger cast, with the exception of the guy who played Reed Richards. I think he was a bit older. Michael Chiklis, that's right. Michael Chiklis was in there too. Um, so I was expecting a younger cast this time around because 50% younger the first time around. I say first time around, but like early 2000s, not the 80s one, obviously. And then you had the Fantastic Four that had like Miles Teller, stuff like that. That was a younger cast. So like Jessica Kirby's what, 35 years old. Pedro Pascal is 48. Ebon, whatever his name is from The Bear, is 30 something. And then the guy who played, was it Eddie from Stranger Things? Was that the character?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I don't know how old he is, but all around it's an older cast than I expected, which I think is cool. We're not going to get like a younger origin story for Fantastic Four. And another thing I like about Fantastic Four with the MCU that's built already, you don't have to work too hard to give them an origin, like they're going to have to do with mutants, because that's going to be difficult, I think. The Fantastic Four has been shown as like, a space accident, which can be thrown in pretty much any time in the MCU, and that's cool. I dig that. Aside from that, man, like not a lot to say. Pedro Pascal, you guys were mentioning certain fan bases not wanting to share him. No spoilers here, but one of those fan bases will not have to share him for very much longer. If you know the story behind that. But
What are you talking
And they
about?
might, because it's him, dude. They might change it completely because it's him.
I don't know.
You know?
They're following the story pretty well, and if they're gonna follow the story as
Yeah.
well as they're following it, then they're not gonna share them too much longer, dude.
Right. So I get you, but
Yeah.
like,
I don't want to spoil it for you, Jubal. I'm not gonna spoil
Okay.
it for you.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Good. Don't spoil it. Let's get Gus in and see what he has to say. What do you think about the cast, sir?
All right. So I don't know anything about Fantastic Four at all. Period.
Alex. No,
Dude,
I don't
every
know.
week, Gus is just like a guy we found to do a podcast with us.
That's
No.
right.
I don't know anything about it at all.
I noticed like Joe did about the
Wait,
age.
I don't get to
Hang on. Wait, no, Gus still wants to talk about something.
Have a seat. I mean, do you like Pedro? Do you like Pedro Pascal?
Yeah,
Gus?
like,
Yeah.
that's what I was gonna say. Like
Then you'd be like, thumbs up, Fantastic Forecasting, Pedro Pascal. You know?
no. Okay. Peter Pascal, super good actor. Right? He's great. I like him. I think he's gonna be like I don't know. I got a real like Josh Brolin feel going on. Just like I think he could play a lot of characters like that. Any franchise movie that has a character named Dr. Doom in it, I will watch it. I don't care. I don't need to know anything. There is a dude whose name is Doctor, meaning practitioner of Doom, which means destruction. What more do you want? And like on the clip, because I gotta put this out here. On the screenshot that Eric shared, I think Eric shared it. Maybe Bueller shared it. I thought there was two chicks. I thought it was two chicks. I thought it was like,
you did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you
really
did.
like rocker version of like 1980s Elizabeth Holmes brunette. Like, I didn't even know. So I have no qualifications to speak on this section at all.
All right.
Wait, Taylor Hanson's a guy? Taylor Hanson's a guy?
It made me like, I was like, man, what's wrong? What's wrong with me?
All right. Let's get Alex in. Alex in.
So, I like Joe. I noticed the age thing, and I think I brought it up on one of the podcasts before, just about if Pedro Pascal's like 48, 49 or something. So by the time this movie comes out, he's going to be 50 or 51. And then if he's going to do a sequel, he's going to be pushing 54 or 55, you know. So that's kind of old for Reed Richards, but at the same time, he looks pretty good. I doubt they're going to say that he's that old. He can probably just put on a little bit of makeup. He can pass for 40, so probably not going to be a big deal. I was a little surprised that the guy from Stranger Things, what was his name, Joseph Quinn, just because the last thing I saw him in was Stranger Things, and When I think of Johnny Storm, I think of like a jock, which is kind of like
Right.
the complete opposite of the character that he played. So I haven't seen him in anything else that I can recall, honestly, other
But
than
yeah,
other
he
than
doesn't look
Strangers.
any real life
But
though. Like he is
yeah,
more. Yeah. So
yeah, the
I think he
pictures of
could
him,
do
like
it.
I don't recognize him until somebody tells me who he is, or I
Right.
read who he is. So I'm kind of interested to see what he does and how he plays it. Like if he's going to be like an arrogant jock, that'd be kind of cool. Um, all in all, though, I mean, we'll see how it turns out. I'm sure that they're all more than capable actors, so I'm sure they're all going to do a great job. I really like seeing. I don't even know how to pronounce the guy's name. Imam, whatever his name is,
Ebon.
Ibn
Yeah.
Mas Bakwak, whatever.
The guy from
Uh,
Bear.
I mean, the bear has
Yeah, that's
been,
what
yeah, the bear has been great, and he's been one of the best parts of the show. Um, so I wish him all the success in the world because he's created an arc in 2 seasons that has been really, really cool and interesting to watch.
Yeah.
But I'm curious how that's going to work with him, as I'm assuming under heavy CGI is a thing. And we were talking about that earlier. It would be like the Hulk, where you can still kind of see that it's Ruffalo, even though it's CGI and everything
Right.
like that.
Right.
So, it's interesting. I'd like to see how that turns out. I'm still kind of Fantastic Four. I've always thought, me and Eric have talked about this. Fantastic Four is something that is like, I've always thought it's just kind of inherently too cheesy to make like a really good comic book movie out of. Like you might
Right.
be able to make something entertaining and fun, but just an inherent, 1970s era comic book cheesiness to them that they can't
Right.
shake.
The fighting family.
And
Right.
right,
Right.
So, but we'll see. And maybe that's the tone they're going to go with. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, I'm cautiously optimistic with Pedro Pascal involved, and this is the first I've heard of Henry Cavill being Doctor Doom. I mean, that would get me a ticket.
those are all rumors. So I just want to put that out there. That's just rumors
Oh,
being
yeah.
reported.
Yeah.
As a source from Variety, blah blah blah.
Sure.
Right.
Even,
You heard it here first, folks. You heard it first from Eric's mouth.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, whoever they put, there's a lot of talent on that cast, so I think it looks good.
Okay. Well, I will do a little bit of like breaking news, a little tiny bit. So I did also tell my friend from Disney. I said, I still hear all these rumors about like there being a female Silver Surfer, and I just want you to know, I don't know who you have to tell in your office, but if you do that, this movie will bomb. This will bomb hard. This will make the Marvels look like fucking Avatar. That's how much it will bomb. People do not want to see a female fucking Silver Surfer. That's going to send people just over the line, especially when there's such an easy fix and just make her, Frankie Ray Nova, the female Herald of Galactus, right? And I said, so if they make a female Silver Surfer, not only will I not see this movie, I will actively campaign against it. I will call Elon Musk to buy Disney to bury this film if you do this. Like that's how I said, so I don't know who you have to talk to. Tell them don't do that.
Right.
Okay. So he just texted me. He says, blah, 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 blah. My friend confirmed that they are barely starting casting discussions for Silver Surfer. I said, male though? Question mark. He says, yes, from all I've heard, all those rumors are just to ruffle feathers, I think.
Okay.
I said, thank you, prayer hands. And I kind of and I put like the baby doing this thing.
Right.
Like, oh no.
Well, maybe that's our scoop then. Our scoop is that Silver Surfer is going to be a dude. They're not gonna sex change Surfer.
Knock on some wood right over there. Knock on.
Silver Surfer is 100% going to be non-binary.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's drive me nuts.
Bullet dodge.
My favorite character, motherfuckers.
So
you have one job.
I'm anxious to hear. I'm actually anxious to hear. This is the part of the podcast I've been looking forward to. I'm anxious to hear everybody's over unders on MCU movies. So we're gonna go around the table here on this. I'll kick it off. My over. I'm gonna get some hate. I'm gonna get some hate. I might get some hate from you guys. I don't know. We'll see. My over is Black Panther. I think Black Panther was overrated. It wasn't bad. I liked it. I thought it was good. But I don't think that it earned its 98% on
Oh,
Rotten
yeah,
Tomatoes. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody was like, "Whoa, so
right.
great." I thought Warmonger was really, really good. He was a great villain.
Killmonger.
Sorry, Killmonger. Killmonger. I thought he was a really good villain.
So good you forgot his name.
So good I couldn't remember it. Yeah. I thought he did a great job. He was super interesting. The guy who played the Claw, I forget his name. He always does a good job.
Andy
But
Serkis.
I don't think that it earned this massive, excellent rating. Like it wasn't better than so many other movies. In fact, in my under, I thought for my underrated one, I thought was a great Marvel movie, and nobody ever talks about it. Iron Man 2. I thought Iron Man 2 was
Okay.
great. But I've got a man crush on Sam Rockwell. Alex knows
Okay.
that. I really, really liked Iron Man 2. I thought he was an excellent antagonist for Tony Stark, the perfect antagonist for Tony Stark. And it was cool to see him and War Machine kind of get it together. That was the whole, the beginning of their relationship together. Um, I enjoyed the hell out of Iron Man 2, and nobody ever talks about it.
Was that the one with Whiplash, or was that the third one?
Yeah, that was the one
Yeah.
with Whiplash.
It's because I think it gets a lot of shit because of the final fight sequence between Whiplash, War Machine, and Iron Man. I actually have a reenactment of that with Hot Toys down there.
Mhm.
But they it's just so short is the issue.
Mhm.
That final scene is basically him, flying around, getting chased by the drones, and then there's maybe a 3-minute fight. I agree with you. I like it. There's some really cool scenes in there, like the race car scene where he pulls the suitcase.
Right.
I also
That was the
room I
first
have-
time you ever saw that. Was that when he pulled that suitcase out? It was like the full body,
Yeah.
turn into Iron Man type thing. Mickey Rourke was amazing. Sam
Right.
Rockwell was amazing. Like there was no part of that movie that was bad, but nobody ever talks about that. Like, okay, the fight wasn't long enough. Like there wasn't enough, there wasn't enough good stuff.
That's
But I thought
the
it
main
was
criticism.
I thought it
honestly.
was great. I thought it was great. Okay,
Also, Jubal, it introduces Black Widow.
right.
It introduces Black Widow, and so that's key also. But yeah, the Mark V, the suitcase one, I've got a hot toy of that in the other room too. That one's legit.
Hell yeah. Well, let's do yours, Eric.
So my overrated is going to be Ant-Man 2. I don't like it. I don't like it. I feel like Ant-Man 2, I think Captain Marvel gets a lot of hate for being like the first movie that they made because they just needed to tell you about something so that you could understand the rest of the story. Ant-Man 2 is the first one. Ant-Man 2 is the first movie that they made not because they actually had a story to tell, but so that they could tell you about the quantum realm so they could explain Endgame
Right.
in a little bit. And that's what it suffers from. It suffers from not being a really good story because they didn't actually have a story to tell. And then the whole mom getting superpowers from being in the quantum realm.
Right.
I mean, it's just so stupid.
Quantum magic.
Not enough. Right. Quantum magic. Not enough Michael Pena.
For real.
Full stop. And then whoever thought in Ant-Man 3 that we wanted more Michelle Pfeiffer and then no Michael Pena should just be fired. Just fired.
Such a bad call.
just a horrible call. So for me, the precursor to, of course, Endgame was still this magnificent, triumphant, end to the end to the MCU. The one that kind of started the downgrade was, to me, Ant-Man 2. It was the first one where they started like, hey, we don't really have a story to tell. We want to get these characters some shine. And that's what it seems like has been going on since then. And if you notice, the only one that's really been good since have been like, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Spider-Man, because these were like, these are ones that people had a story they wanted to tell. Everybody else is just like, oh, we have a character. We want to get out there, show something about the character. Okay, yeah, but was there an interesting story you wanted to tell?
Right,
Was there a
right.
story arc? Were you talking about issues 101 through 107? Like, what was it? No, just wanted to introduce them. Okay, well, good luck with that.
What's your what's your under?
My underrated is Shang-Chi, because I think Shang-Chi's actually pretty darn good. Of all like the Phase 4, which was like a dud for the most part, I enjoyed Shang-Chi. It had its faults, it had its problems. It did some of the same old stuff. No male character beat a female character in a fight. Surprise, they do that all the time. It's just like eye rolling, but it was fun. The visuals were amazing. I thought the actor Simin Yu, I'm probably saying that wrong. Sorry about that. Who played Shang-Chi? I thought he did a great job. Certainly did better than Ben Jones dumbass from Iron Fist. Hey, guy. I'm sorry.
Right. Any movie with Ben Kingsley is a winner.
Hurts.
And like, to bring back that character,
Right.
there was just a lot to like in that movie. I thought it was really good. And it just never gets talked about it because it's in that kind of the downhill of the MCU, and it was also very COVID. It was like the first one that was it was the first one that came out in the theaters with no Disney Plus connection.
Right.
Where Black Widow was Disney Plus and theaters at the same time. That one was the first theaters one, and it made pretty good money. And I think it probably made, without COVID, I think it makes another third or more, maybe another 33-40% on top of what it made. So it didn't do bad, I would say Shang-Chi.
I thought
underrated.
it was good. I thought it was good. Yeah.
No, I enjoyed Shang-Chi. That was almost my pick for underrated.
So what are your picks, Alex?
Both my underrated pick is not bad, and my overrated pick is not bad. My underrated pick is not bad. But my overrated is Avengers Endgame, because not a bad movie by any means, but it's just kind of like, the more I've watched it a few times since, and it's kind of like, it's more like a build up to that last kind of showdown, where it's like, it's not uninteresting or anything like that, but it's just sort of like, the last hour of the movie is really what you're enjoying about the movie. It's just this big clash, everybody coming back and having the big clash and the fights and everything, and it's just like, it's like your old comic book battlefield you had as a kid literally coming to life, and that part was great. And certainly, like I said, it's not a bad movie, and still one of probably, I don't know if it's quite upper tier on the Marvel list, but I'd probably put it like upper middle, as far as overall MCU quality goes. But it's still kind of, because it's an Avengers movie, it kind of gets this huge, and it was such a big movie at the time. It has Iron Man's death. It has these great moments in it, but it's really the last. Spoiler. But it's really the last hour of the movie that makes the movie what it is.
It's a little slow. Yeah.
So my underrated is actually, it was well received at the time, but I think over time people have kind of gets under the radar. It's the first Avengers, because now
Hmm.
the other Avengers movies have come out, and Infinity War especially was like phenomenal, and it's huge. And it's like people have kind of forgotten that when Avengers came out, it hadn't been done yet. You know, the crossover thing,
Right.
and it was so fun, and it's still fun, and it still encapsulates that sort of comic book feeling of seeing all your heroes joined up and fighting for the first time. You know, it's like, and when we saw that in the theater, that was just something that was completely new. You know, it had never been done before, and I think over time, it's kind of gotten a little bit underrated because nobody thinks of it as like one of the best anymore or one of the greatest. But it was such a pivotal moment. What was that?
It's also easy to hate on Josh Whedon now.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Right.
true. But that was one of the things too, because when he came on, you know, a lot of people were kind of like, I don't know, Josh Whedon, how's that going to turn out? You know, well, great as it
Yeah.
turns out.
It was a great
And
movie.
yeah, so and I think over time it's kind of diluted the experience of seeing that movie for the first time, because now we're seeing all these things that movie did, and then like almost every movie now. And so, but you know, that was the original. That was the proto experience of it all. And so I think now at this point it gets kind of underrated because you kind of forget just how important and pivotal it was at the time. And it's still super fun to watch.
Right. Right. Fair enough. Good picks.
Yeah, I agree
Gus?
with Endgame. I agree with you with Endgame because I always felt like Infinity War was the superior movie,
Mhm.
and that what everybody loves about Endgame is that last hour.
Right.
That last hour.
Of course. You kind of knew that going into it, but yeah, I totally
Yeah.
get that. The first
Mhm.
half was slow. Gus, I'm anxious to hear yours.
All right. So for my underrated, it's first Captain America.
All right.
Okay.
Like I don't think it gets enough love, and I think that like compared to all of the other Marvel, most of the other, I shouldn't say all of them because I haven't seen enough of them because whatever. But like, you know, it doesn't rely heavily on special effects. Story's super solid. You know, it's almost period piece. You know, it's a World War II flick. Yeah, it's almost a period piece, and like it's just really good. I really liked it. Actually, it's the first Marvel movie I saw, and that says a lot because the only ones that I've seen is with present company and what I watched last night. So like, I think
Nice.
it's like I really do. I think it's a good flick, and I like think that as they've gone on, now this is kind of to my underrated thing. So don't build a gallows. Don't hate me afterwards. But like, I think that underrated or overrated is about half of them. Right? I think that like a lot of them, and I'm not trying to disparage like the universe or the really good movies because you can't really get to the really good movies without like the steps all the way through. Like you can't have like an Infinity War without all of these different movies, right? Because you need the whole crew, right? All hands on deck. But I think a lot of them, they just like I feel like they get us there because we're going to an Avengers flick or we're going to like a Marvel flick. This is how I kind of feel. And like usually when I watch them, I'm just kind of like, oh, this is entertaining. It's relying on a lot of special effects and like really, really like the high end, high dollar actors are carrying the flick. That's just how I feel as like a not like I don't go out to watch these movies. Like if I saw one that was really cool, I'd be like, whoa, that looks really cool. Like one that I think is cool is Guardians of the Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
I think that franchise is pretty rad. Where I'm like, okay, this is cool because it's very different than the rest of like the Marvel superheroes on Earth. Mm. It's way out. It's way in another spot. But for my overrated, I almost before I decided on that, I almost went with Black Panther because when we saw it in the theaters, I think that may have been the second Marvel movie I saw, maybe the third. I think we might have watched the first couple and then we saw that. But I was like, whoa, this movie's really, really cool. And there was a lot of different elements that I thought were interesting about it. Like it had almost an exclusively African American cast, which I thought was really, really interesting for a large, big budget movie that's not about gangsters or like women getting their groove back. Right. So like I'm just saying, like
We're all gonna get struck by lightning now.
nah, man. I'm just I did a black filmography class for my African American history class, and like there's certain movies that are. I'm gonna digress and get back to work here, but so like yeah, I did. I did the whole thing. I did a filmography. I think I watched like 25 African American flicks, and I had to write a paper on them. And there's certain themes that only pop up, right? And like to the credit of Black Panther, I think it's the first like black comic book superhero flick on a major budget. No. Okay, I'm wrong.
No, it'd be Blade. No, it'd be Blade.
Oh yeah, Blade was great.
Fair
I
enough.
forgot Steel.
So yeah, that's where I'm at. And just one thing on the was it Josh Whedon? What's his name?
Joss Whedon, yeah.
Yeah, isn't he the guy who had to be with Larry David?
I don't know.
Didn't he write about Larry David like last week?
We'll have to talk about it sometime.
Yeah, you might
we'll have to fill you in.
Yeah.
Okay, you'll give me the notes because like
Awkward silence.
So Jubal and Gus both say Black Panther. It's not so much that the movie's not good. It's that for example, Black Panther is already in people's like top 5 Marvel movies, and that's what makes it overrated. It's not
right. It's not that it's bad. It's that it's overrated.
It's not. Yeah, it just doesn't make my top 5. It probably in like the 10-12 range for me.
It wasn't nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah, it did. It got a Best Picture nod, and it's like it just I don't know. It was good, but it wasn't that good. Bueller, let's get you in here. I want to hear your over under.
Well, I thought that we were just doing Marvel movies in general. I didn't know we were doing MCU.
You could
go with what you got.
Yeah, do your thing.
Well, yeah, no. So I mean, for my underrated, it was Blade Trinity, actually. Only because I like that movie. I like the whole trilogy, and I like Blade Trinity. Don't shake your head at me. Hannibal King, Whistler's Daughter.
I thought the second one was the best, like by far.
It was.
Second one's great.
Blade 2 is a goddamn classic.
I'm saying underrated. I didn't say the best. I'm saying I like the trilogy, and I think Trinity gets a little bit too much bullshit hate. Honestly, I like Trinity.
Ryan Reynolds is a funny guy. He's a funny guy.
Yeah, I like Hannibal King's a great character. I think Whistler's Daughter's a good character. I think the whole like the band of good guys that Blade works with are great. I think Parker Posey's fun. I think Triple H's character is hilarious. Like I just like the movie a lot.
Cool.
So whatever, Blade 1 when Stephen Dorff is the blood god. I thought that was actually a pretty shitty ending for that movie. I thought it was dumb.
Yeah,
it was dumb as shit.
It was pretty dumb.
Blade 2. I think Blade 2. You're right. Blade 2 far and away is the best of the 3, but I think Blade 3 gets too much hate. As far as overrated goes, mine's Guardians of the Galaxy 3 or 2. Sorry, 2.
Underrated, or overrated? Guardians of the Galaxy
overrated.
2.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I think is overrated. It's pretty high up there if you look up like the critic scoring, that kind of stuff, and it's just. I think it pales in comparison to 1 and 3. It doesn't. It's not in my top 5. It's probably not in my top 10 Marvel MCU movies. I don't know why it's so high on the critic scores. I don't think it's a great MCU movie. I think it's way too high on that. Like you say about Black Panther, I think it's way too high on that scale. I don't hate the movie. I don't hate it. It
just got too high a rank. Yeah, that's this.
I agree. It's like I've seen that too, where it's like it's people's like 7th best, and I'm like, is it? I mean, I get it. Like, Kurt Russell's hair is fantastic. Fantastic. But that is not enough.
I mean, I really liked it. I really liked Guardians.
No,
2.
I liked it, but it was, to me, it wasn't one of the 7 best MCU movies. It was probably like 13 or something, like, if I had to like pump them out, because there's like 29 of them or something at this point, right? There's
Right,
like 29 of them.
There's a lot.
So if I had to pump them out, yeah, it'd probably be in the 13 to 15 range. And I think Bueller's right. I think that a lot of people have it in this like 7, 8, 9 range, and then when you have it on Rotten Tomatoes, it's up there, and it's just kind of like, was it that good? Really? Okay.
I don't know.
I don't
thought it
remember
was
that.
pretty good. I thought it was pretty good. All right. Anybody else got any last words they want to get in?
Balls.
Balls. All right. Thanks for joining us here on Cult Fiction. Tune in next week and all that stuff. See you later.